everyone, I'm Sarah and welcome back to my crochet channel. Today's video is our May Stitch of the Month, and the stitch pattern that we're learning today is the Larksfoot stitch. And for our practice project, we're going to be making this dish towel. The Larksfoot pattern can be used for lots of different things. You can make a blanket, a hat, you can make a bag for shopping, scarves, lots of different things, tablecloths and table runners, just many different things with this stitch pattern. It's really pretty, really easy, even though it's considered an intermediate stitch pattern. I think you're going to enjoy making it. When you make the dish towel, this is our practice project, like I said, it is a towel that measures about 10 inches across and it's about 14 inches long. It's the perfect size for doing dishes and drying off dishes and countertops. But of course, you can continue the pattern as long as you would like if you prefer a longer towel. And so, if you want to know about our Stitch of the Month crochet along, each month we're learning a new stitch, and then we're also doing a practice project to practice that stitch that we learned. You can find all of the Stitch of the Month that we've done so far in the playlist Stitch of the Month. Now you can find that crochet pattern on my blog, and as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make our Larksfoot dish towel, you're going to need 3 different colors of cotton yarn. Now, this pattern does not have to be worked with cotton. You can use any medium weight number 4 yarn for this project. I'm using cotton because I'm making a dish towel. But like I said, this pattern is great for blankets, bags, hats, purses, table runners, placemats. It's a really neat pattern. Once you've learned it, you're going to just love it. It's super cute. But the main thing is, in order for the details of the pattern to show, you need to use at least 2 different colors so that you can alternate. I decided to use 3 because I think it looks really pretty. And so you're going to need about 2 ounces of 3 different colors, depending on what you're making. If you're going to make a blanket, of course, you're going to need a lot more. But for today's project, you need about 2 ounces from 3 different colors of cotton. I'm using this bright pink, that's Premier Home. I'm using this Premier Just Cotton, that is this kind of orchid purple. And then this green is also the Premier Cotton. Any cotton will work. Peaches and Cream, Hobby Lobby cotton, Red Heart cotton, any of the cottons, as long as it's a medium weight, number 4 yarn. The other thing I suggest is that you stay with the solid colors. You can use variegateds and alternate once you're more used to using this particular pattern. But until you get it down, I would just stick with the solids. Just a little note of help there. We're going to be stitching with our H hook, which is a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. You need a needle for weaving in those ends, and then of course a pair of scissors. We're going to begin with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 34 chains. Now remember to chain this beginning chain just a little bit loose so the bottom of your towel doesn't pucker in on you. All right, so we're going to chain 34 chains. I have chained my 34 chains, and we're going to begin in the second chain from the hook and stitch a single crochet. Go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through both loops. And now we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of our chains across. One single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then in each chain working all the way across our chain. I stitched a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Then I stitched a single crochet in each of my chains across, so I have 33 single crochets. I'm going to chain 3 and turn. Now our chain 3 on this row and every row counts as a double crochet. I'm going to double crochet in the next stitch and then double crochet in the next 2 stitches. My chain 3 counted as my first, and I stitched 3 more. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to skip the next stitch and stitch 1 double crochet in the next 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, and stitch 1 double crochet in the next 3 single crochets. And chain 1. Skip the next, 1 double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, 3. And so we'll repeat this, working all the way across. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet in the next 3. So I've repeated across, stitching chain 1, skip 1, 3 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 3. And then we get to the end here. We chain 1, skip 1, and now we're going to double crochet in the last 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And chain 3. All right, so what we have is 4 double crochets at the beginning because our chain 3 counted as our first. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of chain 1, 3 double crochets. Then we chained 1 and stitched 1 double crochet in those last 4 stitches and chain 3. And that's row 2. All right, let's do row 3. We've chained 3 and we're going to turn our work. We're going to double crochet in the next 3 stitches because remember our chain 3 counted as our first double crochet. Chain 1 and 1 double crochet in the next 3 double crochets. Chain 1, 1 double crochet in the next 3 double crochets. Whoops, there we go. And so what we're going to do is just repeat this all the way across. We're chaining 1, 1 double crochet in the next 3 double crochets, and repeat all the way across. I repeated that all the way across, then I chained 1 and 1 double crochet in the last 4 stitches. Now we're not going to chain 3 yet because we're going to bring in our color 2. We're going to leave color 1 attached. We're going to bring in that color 2, snug that down, and chain 3. When changing colors, Always do your chain 3 after your color change, because our chain 3 counts as our first stitch on our next row, and we don't want color 1, which is this bright pink, to be our first stitch. All right, I'm going to leave color 1 attached, and we're going to turn our work. We're going to double crochet in the next stitch, not the first, but the next. Remember, our chain 3 counts as our first stitch. All right, so now we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the next double crochet and double crochet in the next stitch. In order to form that lark's foot look, we're going to be stitching our double crochet around the chain 1 here and here. So yarn over, put your hook through the chain 1, grab that yarn, pull it through, little bit loose, yarn over, and finish our double crochet. And that's called a long double crochet or spike stitch. Now we're going to double crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1. We're going to skip the next double crochet and double crochet in the next stitch. Now we're going to stitch that long double crochet or spike stitch. And you want to make sure you stitch it just a little bit loose, not too tightly, but you also don't want it hanging down and drooping. So it's something you're just going to have to practice and get used to doing. But it's really not hard at all. All right, so I double crocheted in the next stitch, chain 1. We're skipping the next double crochet and double crochet in the next stitch. Now I'm going to stitch that long double crochet, and then double crochet in that next stitch. I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, and we're going to take a look at it so you can see how that looks. See how my stitch is long? All right, so we're going to continue this across. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next, the long double crochet in the next, and double crochet in the next, and chain 1. And we'll repeat this across until we reach those last 4 double crochets. I have repeated this across, chain 1, double crochet, long double crochet, chain 1 across, and this brings us to those last 4 stitches. We've double crocheted in that first one. We're going to chain 1, skip the next double crochet, and then double crochet in the last 2 stitches. And chain 3. And so now we have completed row 4. We've chained 3 and we're going to turn. All right, now if you're concerned about the yarn on the side, we're going to be carrying it up when we do our color changes, and then when we put our trim on, we'll stitch over it. All right, let's do row 5. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. We're going to double crochet in the next double crochet and chain 1. Now we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in those next 3 stitches. And chain 1. And so our repeat for row 5 is 1 double crochet in the 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, and chain 1, and repeat 1 double crochet in those 3 double crochets. There we go. And we'll repeat that all the way across till we reach those last 2 double crochet stitches. I have repeated across, chain 1, 1 double crochet in the next 3 with my color 2. Brings us to the end here where we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in those last 2 stitches. See how that looks? All right, so now I'm going to bring in my color 3. I'm not going to cut my color 1 or my color 2. I'm going to trail all my yarns up the side. And when I add my trim on, we'll stitch over those. All right, so I'm going to chain 3 and turn my work. I'm going to make sure my color 1 and 2 are out of my way so we don't get tangled. And now we're going to stitch row 6. So we're going to double crochet in the next stitch. And now, see where these 2 chain 1 spaces are? We're going to do what we did down here. We're going to stitch a long double crochet around those 2 chain 1 spaces. Then we'll stitch 1 double crochet in the next. So we have a double crochet here, then we stitch a double crochet, long double crochet, and then double crochet. We're going to chain 1. We're going to skip this next stitch, and then we'll stitch a double crochet in the next. We'll stitch a long double crochet around those 2 chain 1 spaces, and then double crochet in the next, and chain 1. And so we're making our lark stitches offset from the ones we did down here. Alrighty, so chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next, long double crochet around those 2 chain 1 spaces, and double crochet in the next, and chain 1, skip, double crochet, long double crochet around, and then double crochet in the next, and chain 1. All right, so let's take a look at it again so we can get an idea of what we're doing. So for row 6, we double crocheted in the next stitch because our chain 1 counted as 1 double crochet, and then we long double crocheted around those 2 chain 1 spaces, double crochet in the next, and then chain 1. Double crochet, long, oops, we forgot, we skip here where we chained 1, double crochet, long double crochet or spike stitch, double crochet in the next, chain 1, skip 1, and repeat. And we'll repeat this working all the way across till we reach those last 4 stitches. We repeated across, chain 1, double crochet, long double crochet around those 2 chain 1 spaces, double crochet in the next, and then chain 1 and repeat across. And that brings us to our very last double crochet in that last stitch, and chain 3. Now we're going to turn our work, and all the strings are over here out of our way. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. So we have 4 there because our chain 3 counted as our first. Chain 1. Now we're going to double crochet in those 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1 double crochet in the next 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, double crochet in the next 3 double crochets. Let me tighten that up a little. There we go. That's much better. And chain 1. And so we'll just repeat the same thing, working all the way across. 1 double crochet in those 3 double crochets, chain 1, and repeat till we reach those last 4 double crochets. We continued to repeat that across, chain 1, 1 double crochet in those 3 double crochets. That brings us to our last 4, and we'll stitch 1 double crochet in those last 4 double crochets. There we go. Now we're not going to chain 3. What we're going to do is we're going to bring up our color 1. And it's real important that you don't bring it up too tightly. You want it to lay nicely next to your work. We'll snug it down with that green one and chain 3. And now we're ready for the next row. Now that you understand how the lark's foot stitch pattern works, we're going to need to practice. And so our practice project is to turn this swatch into a dish towel or hand towel or dish cloth. They can all be used for the same thing. And so what we're going to do is we're going to continue to repeat row 4, row 5, row 6, and row 7 for 17 more rows or more if you want to. Just remember to alternate your color every 2 rows in order for that lark's foot stitch to really show up. All right, so we're going to repeat row 4, row 5, row 6, and row 7 through row 25, which is 17 more rows, and alternating your colors every 2 rows. I have repeated those rows, and the thing is, if you want your towel to be even longer, you like a longer dish towel, you can add as many repeats as you would like. I really love how the stitch pattern pops out in this bright colored yarn. All right, now we're going to add a trim on, super simple, so that our dish towel has a nice yet pretty trim. The first thing we're going to do for the trim is we're going to stitch an even row of single crochet all the way around all 4 sides. Now you need to decide what colors you want to use for your trim. I'm going to leave my green attached because I'm going to do the single crochet row around in the green. Then I'm going to leave my lavender attached because there's a second edging that we're going to do as well in a different color. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut my pink one off just so I don't have to worry about it while I'm working with my other colors. And what we're going to do first is we're going to turn our work and we're going to evenly single crochet down the side of our towel. And the best way to do this is to do your best to try to go in the stitches and not the holes. This will give you a more even look to the side. Now, there is not a set number of stitches. You just want to try to make it even and pretty. And then the other thing is down this side where we carried all those yarns, you want to make sure you're stitching over those yarns so they don't show. So I'm going to go around that pink yarn. And this is an end, so I'm going to kind of pull on that a little. There we go. And stitch around. There we go. Stitch around those yarns that we trailed up the side so it has a nice, pretty, and even look. All right, so we'll just move on down. And so what you're going to do is you're going to evenly single crochet around all 4 sides of your towel. And then in the corners, I want you to stitch 2 single crochets so it moves nicely around the corner. The main thing on this first side is to make sure you stitch over those yarns that we trailed up the sides. All right, so now we're just going to stitch an even row of single crochet around all 4 sides of our towel, stitching 2 single crochets in each of the corners, and then we'll join back to that first single crochet. I evenly single crocheted around all 4 sides of my towel. I placed 2 single crochets in each of the corners and in this corner as well. I'm going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch, cut my yarn. I'm going to bring in my color that I want to use for the remainder of my trim, which is this lavender. Oops, don't pull too tightly. And chain 1. All right, now I'm going to show you how to do the last portion of the trim. It's really a quick and easy but pretty little trim. So we have our chain 1. We're going to go in the next stitch and we're going to go over those tails of yarn and we're going to stitch 2 single crochets in that next stitch. We're going to skip the next stitch and stitch 2 single crochets in the next stitch. All right, and the way the pattern works for this trim is skip the next and 2 single crochets in the next. 1 and 2. Skip the next, 2 single crochets in the next. This makes a nice little trim, and also when you do a project that doesn't have a set number of stitches, this makes a nice little trim for that, because remember, we evenly single crocheted up the sides of our towel, and so we didn't have a set number of stitches, and this one always works out really nice and makes a really nice trim. And so what we're going to do is continue to repeat, skip 1, 2 single crochets in the next, skip 1, 2 single crochets in the next, working all the way around all 4 sides of our towel. And I really like it. I think it's pretty, makes a nice fun edge, and it's easy to do and super quick. So we'll continue stitching all the way around and join back to our first single crochet. I stitched that trim all the way around. I really love the trim. It looks really cute. I'm going to join to my first single crochet, cut my yarn. We're going to tie off to the back by pulling that loop to the back of our washcloth. There we go. And now I have these 2 ends to weave in. And now my dish towel is all complete with a fun little trim on the edge. It's all tidied up and ready for me to start the dishes. I don't think so.